It's a day that I look forward to, and yet it's not without its emotional challenges. Obviously, too, this year with TJ and Matt, both transfers have impacted our program at an extremely high level. We've come from winning programs. Our two top scorers, two guys that have found success within our program, two guys that have become leaders within our team, and you know, they're in they've handled themselves off the court every bit as well as on the court in terms of helping grow our culture and keep our culture, and I'm very, very thankful for both their times here in the program, and obviously Matt coming in as a grad, being right into grad school and in sports administration, kinesiology undergrad from Baylor, and to see his progress throughout the course of the year, going from a guy who struggled early, it took him a little bit, to a guy who's been performing at a all-league level, and then, you know, Terrence from day one, his work ethic, his attention to detail, his commitment. You know, go back to the UCLA game. He was the best player in the country that night, and he's had as our leading scorer, he's had a great impact. Will continue to do that down the stretch, and plays hard on the defensive end. Has become, I think, one of the better defenders in the country, being able to guard multiple positions, so beyond that, they're unbelievable teammates. And it's very hard, and I'm very appreciative of the fact that both those young men came in and became great teammates. It's never been about them, it's been about us, and I have a lot of respect for both those young men for their impact in our locker room and with a very young team, and helping take those guys under their wing and help guide them towards what we'll hope will be very, very successful careers for all those young guys. So we've got three managers that don't ever get any attention. Nobody ever talks about them, and those three unsung heroes. They do all the yeoman's work. You know, we turn some of them into video coordinators. We turn some of them into research people with analytics. We turn some of them are on the court. So I'd like to thank them. I know our players thank them every day for their countless hours, and you know, those become CEOs of companies, presidents of banks. Those guys make it because they're not afraid to work, and they're not afraid to put in a time commitment that it takes, along with being great students. So my hat's off to all three of those young men. Obviously, we've got a game to play, and Michigan comes in. I think they're as talented as the most talented team in our league, and I think they're starts with Hunter. You know, Hunter's been around now, seems like forever. Outstanding player, outstanding passer. Like so many other bigs in this league, he can hurt you with the pass as much as his ability to score, being 7'1", 260. You know, he's turned into a 40% three-point shooter. And then you add Bufkin, who's made the jump, you know, probably somewhere into the mid-first round draft pick talk. You know, from a freshman who averaged 3 or 4 points a game to a guy who had 28 in their last game. And elite athlete, very good shooter. And then Doug has really matured as a freshman this year at the point. He's playing great, and you know, you throw Juwan Sunjet into the mix. He's been out with an ankle. I would expect him to play. He's one of the elite shooters in college basketball at 6'8". Has uncanny ability to make step backs at a very high level, and can really space the floor. He's had some huge games for him. So a very, very talented team, and a team that will have to play very, very well to beat.
Coach, Michigan's won 3 in a row, 6 out of 8. What have you seen from them over that stretch? Is there something different about them now?
Yeah, the guard play's been really good. They've Doug's been incredible. As a freshman, they lose a 5th-year senior, and they had some ups and downs, and started playing Buffkin on the ball. They were playing Jet on the ball, and once they pretty much settled on Doug being on the ball, he's been great. He's found his role. He's got great swagger for a freshman. He's got great mid-range pull-up, but then it's put Joey Baker and Cheddar and some of those guys into roles that they're very successful in. Those guys have really, you can see a role identification starting to happen with them.
So Matt's like he's come on starting conference play, and he's been able to play maybe a different role with you guys over this year. What have you guys been able to kind of get out of each other after he transferred here?
Yeah, I think he's been a guy that's looked to become the guy, become a guy. Not just a 17-minute a game guy. We talked a lot about that in the process, I think he's fallen in love with the process of what we do every day. We lift every day, and how it's changed his body, and his conditioning's in top shelf. I mean, he's just become in great condition from a young man that when he got here was not. So I think he's the expectation has been different from me towards him in terms of leadership, in terms of responsibility, accountability, and he's been great with that. He's accepted that. We've had great lines of communication. We talk a lot. He's very analytical. I think he's playing the best basketball of his career right now.
It's with transfers, maybe from both sides, from the coaching staff and the players that are actually transferring. I mean, it's a bet on themselves, maybe taking a chance. Both sides. Just how have you maybe seen that evolve? Just that whole idea.
The portal's hard. The portal's it's a challenge. When you think about going into a situation completely blind, where you know nobody or very few people. Truly no, you don't know your teammates for sure, and yet you have to coexist with them. You have to, from our standpoint, as coaches' standpoint, we have to make sure they fit, that they're the right guy, that they're good people, that all the things that are important to us. The talent, everybody can watch that on film, but that's what's scary about the portal. Is you're going in a situation with blinders on because you don't know your teammates, you don't know language, you don't know the school, you don't know anything, and to me that's a really scary thing, and so you are betting on yourself, but you're also having to believe in that program, and I think our staff has been incredible at finding those guys that are good people that want to be coached, that want to come here for the right reasons, and I think that's at least in our last 4, Dane, and TJ and Matt, and go back to Plummer. I think we've known enough about their character to make sure that they're the right guys and the right fit.
Given that unknown you talked about with just not knowing anybody, like what are the steps to step into that leadership role that you've seen? It doesn't sound easy when you don't really know people on the other end of it. How did you see them embrace that?
Well, it was easier for them because of what we've lost. It would have been much different had Kofi been back or Trent been back, or we were a very, very young basketball team, and Coleman averaged 5.5, You know, so it was a very different situation. We lost 90% of our scoring. You know, and we've got a group of eight or new guys. It's probably easier for them to, you know, come in when you're losing fifth-year seniors and a first-team All-American than it is to come in and, you know, have all those guys back. So the situation helped.
Nearly 3 months ago, we sat in the same room and you talked about kind of like the lack of leadership after the Penn State game. Now that we're a week away from the postseason, where do you think the team stands in that regard?
Yeah, much better. You know, I think it's very. I think it's very evident that, you know, we've seen Coleman grow. I think we've seen our freshmen grow. I think we've seen you know, Matt and Terrence, you know, step into it. I was elated with the way we grew with Terrence out. You know, and I think Matt stepped into, you know, an unbelievable spotlight and handled that situation. So I think we're much better off than we were then. That's for sure. Is there still room for improvement? Absolutely. Is now the time to lean on a couple guys who've been there? Absolutely. But you know, you count on your veterans, and this time of year is no different.
And then I just have to ask, what are your thoughts on the return of the Matthew Meyer mullet?
If it gets him to play like he did in the NCAA tournament game where he had 25 and dominant, I'm all for it. And you know, Matt's going to find a way to come up with something, whether it's, you know, the headband or the mullet or, but you know, it's probably really good for his NIL as well.
But have there been some points of emphasis coming off the Ohio State game? What are some things you want to clean up?
Not be tired, sleep. That would help. You know, find another team in the country who's played 4 games in 8 days in late February. We pretty much kicked that one to the curb. It's one of those that you can't dwell on. You got to move on, and you know, we didn't have it. They did.
You had Kofi go through senior day last year as a junior. Coleman's obviously being talked about the next level. Do you have conversations about whether guys want to do that with those opportunities, or is that pretty simple? How do you handle those things?
We had a really good idea that Kofi was gone. Yeah, we knew at that point that we knew last year what that was looking like. Kofi had gone through the process 2 other times. We knew he was going to go through the process, and once he was going to go through that, he was out. So we knew that pretty much from the summer. So you know, different set of circumstances for every single player. You know, we expect guys in our program to have to go through that process, but that doesn't mean that they're, you know, if they have eligibility left, that they don't have the ability to come back. So every situation is very independent of each other.
So, too, if I could, just for clarity, you'll still have conversations with TJ, even though he's going through this. Is there a door open that he could come back next year?
No, I'm going to close it. I think he stinks. I don't think he's very good. Yeah, no, he's. We want to provide every opportunity for him to do his due diligence, and part of that is you know, he has been in school for, you know, 4 years. He's got the extra year, but you know, he goes through that process, which he should. You know, he needs to look at it, and if it's the right information, great. If it's not the right information, you know, I would like to think he'll be a first-team All-American preseason next year.
And then if I could, what's been the week with Dane? I mean, just kind of, we only saw him for a minute in the second half. What's been the conversation and just kind of helping him work through that?
Yeah, he had a great practice yesterday. He's been really good. He's you know, he's watching film. I think it's more, yeah, okay, we know we got a couple bigs coming in here. You know, the lineups are better. We need 25 to 30 minutes of really good Dane Deja, and so he was great today or yesterday, and hope he is today.
I mean, with the old trench system, there was always a chance, to add a grad transfer for a year. Now I think just the door's open for more players to do that. Just how, and maybe having guys for 1 year, maybe can change a program. I mean, or sometimes not. I mean, just what's that kind of scenario been like?
I think it's more about, it's obviously the character piece is important, but it's really about filling a specific need. There's no time for development. You're not going to change, truly who they are in an 8-month time frame. And it's just about filling a need and helping them, find what they're looking for as well. And I think we've done that with Plum, and I think we've done that with Matthew in terms of finding a really common ground that meets our program's needs and helps them advance and maybe find what they're looking for, not just in University of Illinois in our program, but also potentially beyond that. And we've been very fortunate that we've had 2 great young men who've come in as grads and then have found success here, and it's a tribute to our staff and it's a tribute to them. I will mention one other thing. Jaden went down yesterday in practice. He was in the hospital overnight. He's been undergoing a series of tests and evaluations here at Carl. Obviously, it was a pretty awkward and tough situation yesterday. His family has made their way into town. It was tough for our players, played for our coaches. He's progressing from the situation. He's doing better. We are hopeful and expecting him to be dismissed. We hope later today. At this point, I'm not going to get into any particulars involving anything else for just his sake, his family's. He got great care here. He got from Paul Schmidt. Paul was with him all night. He got great Dr. Jeremy Hendricks, and then the Carl physicians were incredible. So do want to mention that, and as we move forward, we'll talk further about that. But enough said. Thank you.